you're anti-trans.
Yeah, I wanted to have a quick look at this. I've got two videos. Neither of them are super long. But I'm trying to reconcile two different things, I guess, with this. This is someone called Tom Powell Jr. Like, my understanding is he's kind of a damn shill type of guy. Just having a look here. Obviously, you've got the pronouns, political and social content from a Gen X hippie, 177k subscribers, and like some of the popular stuff is very recent, actually. Like, wow, seems to have hit it off quite recently. You do get a lot of these like left-leaning channels, shall we say, that they got kind of a boon from Trump winning the election. But yeah, it does seem like anti-MAGA content. I'm surprised, actually. When I clicked on most popular, I was expecting to see everything from like 3 years ago. But it seems like he's had a big boon. But yeah, so we got two videos by this person. I don't know who they are. I might end up agreeing more than I think. But it's not a great, it's not a great start. So we've got, if you're trans, they are coming after you. Let's see what we're saying. Let's get kind of a baseline. Because then we're going to move on to more kind of feminist concepts, I guess. So let's see.
If you're trans, they're coming after you. Not if you're a trans woman. If you're a man that transitioned into a woman, they're coming after you. If you're trans, they're coming after you.
Are they going to say who they is? If they don't say who they is, I'm going to assume triple brackets.
Hello! If you think that most, if not all, anti-trans legislation in the US right now is being targeted towards trans women, you're blatantly wrong. Ignore my stutter. There was a bill passed in Idaho recently that makes it illegal for trans men with top surgery to go topless in public areas, considering it public indecency. Public indecency can put you on the sex offender registry list, by the way. They're making trans men sex offenders.
If you're trans, they're coming after you.
So this guy is going to presumably accept all of that as fact, which is not great. It's not great. You're not helping anyone by affirming the fuck out of someone that's coming to some crazy conclusions. You're really not helping anyone. You're kind of contributing to the mass fucking delusion, you know what I mean?
After you. Hang on. Just so we're clear about what we're talking about. Idaho is saying this person walking around at the beach without a shirt on would be considered indecent exposure and thus subject this person to be part of the sex offender registry list.
They said that indecent exposure can put you on the sex offender list. Does that mean that something like this would put you on the sex offender list? Listen, I'll see what the ACLU is saying. I don't trust these people like at all. So you see what dangerously expansive. Just say what it is. What is it? Just say what it is. Indecent exposure to include breasts. Developed female breasts. Adult male breasts that have been changed to look like female breasts. So fake breasts. Show or display sex toys. Wait, this isn't... If you're found guilty of indecent exposure, you're on the sex offender list for 10 years, I think. Okay, fair enough. The other thing I would say about that in that case is that isn't really without warrant, because often public indecency, like indecent exposure, often that's like something that someone will do that they will then like go on to do more stuff. Like it starts from there and goes on to more serious crimes. Like think about flashing and stuff like that. So it includes female breasts, male breasts ought to look like female breasts. This doesn't say like mastectomy though, right? Unless it's just any kind of female chest. They never read the law. Yeah. Does this actually say that if you're a trans man who has had a mastectomy that you'd be put on a list for showing it off? I've got female breasts, male breasts ought to look like female breasts, artificial breasts and toys, or products that resemble genitals. So are they just wrong? Like even the ACLU. Developed female breasts, adult male breasts, fake breasts, toys. So what's this got to do with mastectomies then? Aren't they talking out their ass in that case? I don't know. This is the problem. These people will listen to some trans person on TikTok as if anyone on TikTok should ever be listened to about anything. Like, listen to them, yeah, but like, check on it. Make sure that it actually says what you're saying. But instead, it looks like he's talking out his ass. Because he's listened to this woman who's talking out her ass. Like, this is just wrong. Trans men with top surgery, even the ACLU when I looked at it, it doesn't say that. Like, how do you get this wrong? Do these people think that people won't check? Wait, I see the argument now. From what I've seen, apparently double mastectomy would be reclassed as breast reconstruction. Maybe verify that claim. But can you call it breast reconstruction when they're removed? Wouldn't reconstruction be putting in new breasts? The law has additional impact to transgender people. New law explicitly bans trans women from exposing their breasts. Also applies to cis women. Law applies to trans men because Idaho law does not recognize gender identity expression. Instead, either male or female according to sex assigned at birth. In practice, this means trans men may be charged with indecent exposure for going shirtless in public. Maybe. So they're speculating. They don't actually know. This is just speculation. Whereas taking the law from how they've worded it, they're talking about breasts. Well, if you've had your breasts taken off, you don't have breasts. Yeah, it's speculation. That's all we've got is trans men may be charged with indecent exposure. This is a case of speculating how it might be interpreted. So we don't actually know. So what we're being told is they're coming after you because of this. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, this just doesn't work. I'm sorry. This is not grounds for the kind of scaremongering that this person is doing. But the reason he's doing it is because a trans person has said it, and they can't lie about anything ever, apparently. Like, it's just a grift. No one ever seems to want to, like, wait and see how the dust settles. We have to have a massive fucking panic attack over it. I'm not seeing it. I'm sorry. I don't think there's a workable fucking argument for what these people are saying.
But any of them, topless in public, would be considered.
He's saying it would be, but in actual fact, it's just, well, it may be interpreted that way. We don't know. Like, wouldn't it also rely on someone seeing you that knows? Wouldn't it also rely on, like, I don't know. People need to stop fucking jumping in and, like, talking about this shit as if this is exactly what's going to happen. Has anyone been arrested for this yet? Have any trans men been criminalized for this yet? Can we wait? Can we see? Instead, we're like driving people insane. Instead, we're like scaremongering. Like, people are potentially getting more riled up because of this for no reason, because it might not apply to them. We don't know.
Decent exposure because they were born a woman. If you're trans, they're coming after you. And the fucked up part about it is the same fucking people that passed that, I bet money, couldn't identify any one of those fucking people as having been born a woman.
Well, then they're probably fine then. Then they're not coming after those people. Like,
if they walked up to them on the street on a hot summer day at a festival in town and they had their shirt off and they were just walking along with their friends and no shirt, I bet not one fucking person that voted to pass that would see that person and go, that's a woman that's topless. Oddly enough, these are the same people that want all of the people I just showed you to use the women's restroom. Yeah, wrap your fucking head around that one, because they're also the same people that say if they saw that person walking into a women's restroom behind their child, they'd fucking kill them. If you're trans, they're coming after you.
scaremongering, gross, disgusting. Yeah, the best we've got is that it may happen this way, but we don't know. So how are we going to speak that, like, authoritatively? This is what's going to happen. Is like fucking crazy to me. Well, there you go. So this person's a massive fucking grifter. What I wanted to know was, like, what does he think of this woman bear thing? Because this tends to, like, run a bit counter to a lot of trans narratives. Women would rather choose a bear than a man. Well, then women are also unhappy with men in their spaces. And bear in mind, it doesn't really matter what you consider a man or a woman in that instance. It's what they consider at the time. If a trans woman doesn't pass, they're going to be seen as a man by a lot of women. So I just want to see what his take on this is quickly, and then we'll move on.
Oh my God.
We're all indignant already. I love it.
So by now you've seen some variation of a video in which a woman is being asked if she was alone in the woods, would she rather be with a man or a bear? And almost every fucking time the woman says the bear. Fathers are being asked.
By the way, I hate this whole thing. I hate this whole thing. Is it not just another way of like demonizing men unnecessarily? Like, I don't know what the point of all this kind of shit was, but it runs counter to quite a lot of like trans narratives.
Asked, if your daughter was alone in the woods, would you rather her be alone in the woods with a man or a bear? And fathers are saying the bear. As a husband to a woman, a father to 3 women, and a grandfather to 2 more, I'm telling you, I would rather have the bear than the man. And this person comes in here and says,
such a virtue signal. These people are actually ghoulish to me. Like, I'm sorry, I'm A-logging quite hard off of very little content. It's just gross to me. This kind of stuff is gross.
soon we will hear women saying they feel safer with trans. Let's see. Popcorn ready.
Well, they shouldn't, because trans women follow male patterns of criminality. If you're being consistent, you'd have to lump trans women in with men versus the bear.
Yeah, I don't know why they wouldn't be.
Because, like, the whole, like, arguments in favor of this whole thing are like, well, sexual assault statistics. But trans women are on the wrong side of those statistics, you know? I think it's very trendy to jump on the bandwagon of being kind and inclusive. I believe when this all goes in favor, these people will have to eat their words when the lawsuits start. Yeah, maybe. The thing is, it's not very kind to repeat scaremongering you see on the internet as fact when you actually look at the law. It doesn't really make sense to. That's not kind. You're helping rile people up. You're helping people get worse, their mental health get worse. You're like contributing to people freaking out en masse instead of trying to live their lives, trying to focus on what is near and dear to them, and seeing where the law of the land lies, seeing where the dust settles. But we're not doing that. The second something happens, we have to jump to all these conclusions. Is misandry counter to trans narrative? It doesn't feel that way. Okay, I don't know if you just weren't listening to what I was saying. If you're going to be logically consistent when you're talking about women choosing the bear over choosing the man, one of the main reasons as to why women are saying they choose the bear is because women are on the wrong side of sexual assault statistics. Trans women are male. Trans women follow the same pattern of criminality in general as men, not women. So if you're going to say a woman would choose a bear over a man, if you're being logically consistent, you'd choose the bear over a trans woman as well, especially if you don't even know that they're a trans woman because they don't pass. And like plenty of like trans activists are misandrist as well, so somehow it does make sense. Somehow it does like line up if you were to take their own words at face value. Yeah, that's the thing that confuses me. Things like this bear scenario, acknowledged on one hand, but then expect to be ignored on the other. Yeah, we're talking about like the differences between the sexes.
So you're clearly not understanding.
Men are scarier than a bear, but also don't worry about men in female spaces. Make it make sense. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, if the man puts a dress on, does that make any difference? Exactly.
What women are saying when it comes to the subject. I think, and it's just a thought, I think I understand, and I'm going to try and voice that here in just a second. But let's touch on the trans part. You folks that have a problem with trans people, especially when it comes to bathrooms, you never seem to grasp the fact that what your issue is not with a trans person, it's with a straight man.
I mean, listen. Technically, a gay man is not likely to rape a woman or rape men instead. Men are also far more likely to be raped by other men than women. It's a sex-based problem. The reason these people can slip out away and pretend that trans women don't fit in with the male pattern of criminality, even though if you look at stats, it goes a certain way. The reason you can like hide from that is because there's not very many trans people. And the average man, the average male, is not actually a sex offender. So there's not very many trans women that commit those crimes because it's a small population as it is. That enables these people to like get away with it. But if you look at Ministry of Justice statistics in this country, like it's like something like 60% of incarcerated trans women are in there for sex offenses. which is far higher than like men. It's many orders of magnitude higher than women.
Because what you keep saying is, if we allow trans people to go into bathrooms that they identify with, then sooner or later a man is going to put on a dress and go attack women. Right.
Well, it's already happened.
Not a trans person, the man. The man in the
Well, trans people have done that as well. Look up Katie Dolatovsky.
man and bear scenario. You guys yourself say how much you don't want your daughter around men.
How do you tell the difference between a non-passing trans woman and a man? What if a non-passing trans woman attacks someone in a bathroom? The other thing is, these people will ignore it if you take someone who committed an offense and then started identifying as trans. They're a man, they commit a sexual offense, and then they identify as trans. They'll like write that off. Oh, you're just identifying as trans to like run away from it. I'd be inclined to agree personally. The problem is, based on the logic of these kinds of people, that person was always trans. If you come out as trans, then you were always trans and should therefore forevermore be historically viewed as a woman. So someone like Isla Bryson, he was always female to these people because he's come out as trans. You can't really say that someone's gender identity isn't valid because you don't like them, because they've done something bad. That doesn't make any sense. So either every trans person has always had that female gender identity and thus is a woman, not a man, despite being born male, or you have to acknowledge that like you've transitioned, you changed, but you weren't that way the whole time. Like they have to square this kind of shit. Until then, it's perfectly valid to take someone like Lexi Secker or Isla Bryson and say, these are trans people that have raped women because they were always trans, according to these very people. But the logic changes because they did something wrong. That doesn't make sense.
Not trans people, men. Because what's your fear? It's not a trans person. It's that a man is going to dress up in a dress and pretend to be a trans person to gain...
What's the difference? How does this person... Oh, this is driving me insane. How does this person define trans? All it is whether you identify as a different sex or not, as a different gender or not. But you can't see that identity. So how do you know if that person's a man or a trans person? What's the difference between that man and a trans person? Maybe they do identify as female when they're male. Therefore, they're trans. I don't fucking get it. Here's that trans woman that wanted to get their genitalia waxed. Jessica Yaniv, yeah. He was also... There were like texts between him and like women talking about how he wants to like go into female changing rooms so he can strike up conversations with little girls and teach them how to put tampons in and stuff. That person is like wretched, disgusting. The trans women are overrepresented in sex crime statistics, even in excess of cis men. It's a little hard because sex crimes are like notoriously like under prosecuted. What it was, hang on, let me just find it. Incarcerated trans women in the UK, it's something like 60% of them were incarcerated for sex crimes. Whereas with men, it was, well, less. And with women, it was obviously significantly less because women just don't commit those crimes anywhere near as much. So a Conservative MP asks, how many of the 50 transgender prisoners who reported their legal gender as female committed of a sex crime? And then we've got, of the 245 transgender prisoners who reported their legal gender as male, i.e. those who now identify as women, non-binary, gender fluid, on 31st of March 2024, 151 were convicted of a sexual offence. So like, I don't know how that compares to like the percentage of men, but in terms of those who are incarcerated, trans women, they're much more likely to have been incarcerated for a sexual offence. It's a little bit difficult because these kind of crimes aren't always very well prosecuted. But it certainly suggests, to me, I would rather take it as like trans women tend to follow male patterns of criminality rather than trans women are way more likely to be committing sexual offences, because I don't really think that's true. And there's a lot of variables to consider. There's also figures from 2018 to 19. 76 sex offenders out of 129 trans women total incarcerated, almost 60%. 125. There's fewer female sex offenders in jail in 2019 than there are trans women incarcerated. Like, what's 76? That's way more than half. So yeah, that's where it comes from. And yeah, like you could look at that and draw way stronger conclusions than I do. I don't think it's quite fair to say trans women are far more likely to commit sex offenses. But it certainly suggests that they follow the male pattern of criminality, not the female pattern of criminality. And it makes sense. Like, you know, when a man has sex with a woman, a lot more of the consequence in general is on the woman, especially physically. They're the one that will be carrying the child. The man could fuck them, impregnate them, and fuck off forever. The woman is the one dealing with all the consequence there. The man is the one with the appendage necessary to rape as per like UK law. And that goes for trans women as well. Not all that many trans women get surgery.
Access to a bathroom and assault your children. You yourself.
Kathleen Stark talked about toilet privilege being based on social cues. She was previously okay with it, but now there is no cue since you can look 100% male and identify other. Yeah, that's the thing. When it used to be about fitting in with society, fitting in, blending in with other women, it worked because if you look like a woman, no one's going to have a problem with you in the first place because they're not going to notice. And if you're going in a toilet, people probably aren't like scrutinizing you all that closely anyway. When we started making it about identifying as this, that, or the other, now people feel it's their birthright to go into the female toilets because they identify a certain way, irrespective of how they actually look. And often these people don't understand that people can't see your identity, or you can express your identity to someone else and they might not believe you or might not agree with you, excuse me.
Are saying you don't want your daughters around men. And you can't see it. Now, as far as what my thought is, what my understanding of what women are saying in this argument, I believe it to be this. And women out there, please correct me if I'm wrong. Women are not saying that they don't believe that the bear is going to kill them or that they could physically overpower a bear and not a man. That is not what they're saying, okay? What they're saying is, if I know I'm going to get attacked in the woods, if I know that that is a high likelihood, and the two possibilities are be attacked by a human man or be attacked by a bear, at least with the bear, my life is over. I get attacked, I get eaten, it's over with. With the man, I have a lifetime of fucking trauma to deal with after what he does to me. That is what I...
Wait, so getting mauled by a bear you don't get trauma from. Is that right? I don't think that's true at all, but okay. The problem is, you don't understand that trans women are men.
I believe they're trying to get across to all of us men.
Like, if you're gonna say that trans women don't fit in with this man-bear thing, you need to establish what differentiates trans women from men. But what differentiates trans women from men is gender identity. Gender identity is not mentioned in this hypothetical. So it'll be about your perception. You'll see a man. Does it matter what he identifies as? Kind of seems like they might be able to do the same thing, regardless of how they identify, you know? Most people are killed by people they know. Not many women are dating bears or even know bears. Yeah. This man is not a bear. Well, he's not a bear because he's straight. If he was gay, he'd be a bear.
Is that it is worse to be attacked by a man and survive and have to live with that kind of trauma for God knows how many fucking decades.
Like, I do see the point, don't get me wrong. Like, if a bear attacks you, it'll maul you, whatever. Men might do all kinds of things. They might sexually assault you, etc., etc., etc. That doesn't exclude trans women. Dying is always worse, isn't it? That's what I would probably agree with, yeah. Like, if this is the point, then why wouldn't we be asking women, would you rather be sexually assaulted or murdered? Like me personally, I think I would rather be sexually assaulted than murdered. Now, God forbid, I wouldn't want any of that kind of thing to happen to anyone. But wouldn't you just ask that question in that case?
Fucking them up in the head.
There was one in America that made 2 women pregnant. Oh, in jail? In prison, sorry? Do you mean Demi Minor? There's been a few that have been like, you know, either having sex with or sexually assaulting women in prisons. There's been a few that have gotten people pregnant.
For God knows how many different ways.
But it is a bit bizarre that you're acting like, if you get mauled by a bear and survive, you have fucking trauma over that. Like, I don't know, dude. Like, I got traumatized when I was a kid because a fucking dog chased me. It took me years to get over my fear of dogs. Like, I don't know. This is what happens when you get so woke. You actually go full circle around into being actually quite intolerant and actually quite ignorant of things like trauma.
In God knows how many different ways, for God knows how fucking long, instead of just having it be over with by the bear. In other words, I would rather have a...
Yeah, so would a woman rather be in the woods with a bear or in the woods with Karen White? This person attacked 2 women in prison in Wakefield. So I don't know, man. This person identifies as a woman, so according to your logic, this is not a man. Still carried out these offenses. So who would you rather be in jail with, a bear or Karen White? I don't know. Neither of them are men, apparently, so hey.
A quick, boom, done, I've been eaten death with the bear, rather than being tortured and have a life of trauma from the man. And if...
I don't know. In that case, like I said, ask women whether they'd rather be raped or killed. I don't know.
What I believe is true, and that is what they're trying to convey to us. That's the message.
Okay, he's not blaming trauma victims. He's just not very well-versed in trauma. Like, I don't know. I have trauma myself. I would rather go through whatever that traumatic event was than have been killed. You know what I mean? You asked Farm Girl's question, the same question. They'd almost universally say they'd rather be with the man. I'd pick the man as well. I mean, listen, I'm not a woman. I'm more the same kind of size and strength as a man. Albeit I've taken estrogen, so probably not quite as strong. But I think I'd be more likely to handle like a man if there was a problem. And what if there wasn't a problem? You can look at it and say, well, out of the two worst possible outcomes, the man is worse. Well, what about the best possible outcomes? The bear runs away from you. The man is actually agreeable. Like, I don't know, man.
If that is actually accurate, then goddamn it, man, we need to wake the fuck up and realize what our segment of the species has done.
Yes, I think you should do that. I think you should look at male and female patterns of criminality. I think you should think about how you actually determine who is trans and who isn't. Trans women commit crimes at similar rates to males because they are male. They fit in the male pattern of criminality.
And you know, it's not just in the form of SA. It's not just in the form of grape, as they say. I'm here in order to not get kicked off.
Yeah, so then ask them which one they'd rather out of those two things, instead of hiding it behind, would you rather be with a man or a bear in the woods? Dying by a bear is the most painful of deaths out there. They don't kill you because they don't have to. They just pin you down and eat. Yeah. Some of those things, they'll like just eat you alive. It's like hyenas. That's what they do. They just start eating you alive.
It's in every facet of life. Prime example, my wife and I have the same general practitioner, the same guy, the same general doctor. We use him to basically gain access to all of the various specialists that we need, right? She goes in and says she has X, Y, and Z, and he goes, you should be happier, you should work harder, you should lose some weight, you should do this, you should do that. I go...
They don't blame the bear for being a bear, they blame the man for choosing to be cruel. Yeah, of course. Like, I do understand the hypothetical. Too much focus is placed on toilets, and there are other places women frequent. Yeah, the reason there's more focus on toilets is because that's quite strong ground for the TRA types to argue from. And me personally, I think it's probably fine to just go in the toilet that you most resemble. But there's other female spaces that I really do not think there's any way you should be putting men in. Like a rape center, a rape crisis center. There probably should be facilities open to both sexes, but there should also be female-only ones. If you're a woman and you get raped by a man, and then a man identifying as a woman comes into your rape shelter, and you don't see them as a woman, you see them as a man, that's something that can potentially re-trigger you. And like re-triggering a traumatized person is like the number one thing you must avoid. That's the whole point of having those kind of services.
Go in and say, I got the exact same stuff. Here's the medication that you need. Our cardiologist, as an example. We both have gone through an extraordinarily dark period. My wife went in there for a follow-up visit. She was going through a very rough period. She broke down in his office. She was very vulnerable.
Toilets can be case by case, not shelters or prisons. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. If you make an effort, if you look like the other sex. What if you're a man raped by a woman and a male who appears as a woman walks in? Would that not trigger them? Well, potentially, but you have to remember that statistically that is very unlikely. Like, we already looked at the stats. I don't know how long you've been watching. We already looked at the stats. Women are very, very, like, underrepresented in sexual assault stats. So it's possible. And I mean, hopefully you'd be able to, like, separate that man off. But ultimately, it's just so much less likely to happen.
He told her how she basically needed to buck up. I went in there for a follow-up. I was in a very dark place that particular morning, and I was rough. And I expressed to him how dark of a place I was. He offered me every
What's this got to do with the situation?
medication on the sun. You need some antidepressants, you need some this, you need some that. Women aren't even heard in the fucking medical community by men most of the time. They're not heard in the workplace. They're not heard in politics as much as or as equal to men. And in society as a whole, women's number one predator is men.
Yes, males, not men, males.
That's it. That is, they're not looking over their shoulder for another woman. They're not looking over their shoulder for a bear. They're not looking over their shoulder for a jaguar. They're looking over their shoulder for fucking men. Because of what we have done to them for generations.
This guy is like, actually, this is like self-flagellation. This guy probably complains about white people all the time as well. Camera angle makes him look like a dwarf. To be fair, because it's like, I mean, he's kind of taking up like the lower half. You can't really see very much. Oh, hi, Captain Joe Fritzl. What we need is for guys like this to take the next step. Prefix man with a skin color to double down on the discrimination. Jeez, maybe. Listen, that's why I keep it to male pattern of criminality, female pattern of criminality. But these people don't understand that because they're too busy virtue signaling. They've got an audience that they're trying to grift to. So they're never gonna understand. They probably have never seen any of these many examples of trans women who have hurt women. Because their media probably never talks about any of that shit. I'd be amazed if this guy hasn't said something like, I've never heard of a trans woman hurting a woman. How much is projection? Hey, I don't know. I'm not trying to psychoanalyze, you know.
That trauma is ingrained. And we own that. And guys like you can't see it. Which tells me guys like you are...
Well, you can't see it either because you're very happy to pretend that trans women are not men. Well, what if they don't pass and a woman sees them and doesn't understand that they're actually a trans woman? What if that woman is aware of the large number of trans women that have harmed women in the same way that a man might because they are male? Like, this is the problem. Like, I get it. You've got an audience to grift to. Seems to be doing well for you. You've got 177k subscribers. All your big view things actually seem to be recent, which, congrats on that. Listen, a lot of people on the anti-Trump train looking for anti-Trump content. But yeah, this is silly. This is like refusal to engage in reality is what we're seeing here.
Part of the fucking problem. Stop being part of the fucking problem.
I mean, listen, if the message overall is don't rape, then I agree with that. Don't rape. No one should rape, ever. Just don't rape. This man has bodies under his patio. Listen, no, I'm not saying anything. Most trans women keep their male genitalia. Yep, true. Even the ones that look quite convincing on the surface. There's often overlooked and the focus of ones that are less convincing is dangerous. Yeah, true. I suspect the man versus bear thing is more to do with most people not knowing anything about bears or men. Or not men. Yeah, maybe. But the whole point of it is, well, men are much more predisposed, seemingly, to certain kinds of violent crime, including sexual assault. But you have to include trans women in with that. Because that's how it works. That's how the stats pan out. We've seen it in the UK. Whenever they release these statistics of what trans women are in for, and I'm sure that it's been the same in the US, where a large amount of the incarcerated trans women are in there for sexual assault. Like, there's more than half. As of that 29 statistic, there was more than half the amount of trans women in there for sexual assault as there was women. Well, trans women are fucking way less than half the proportion of women. Like, we're a very small number of the population. And these people can complain, these people can pretend that trans women never do anything and they've never heard of anything because their media skews things and because not many trans women commit sexual assault because there's not many trans women in general. But you're not engaging with reality at that point. You're just wrong at that point. That's that. Listen, Tom Powell Jr., we got more trans ally dipshits grifting. Good luck to you. How are we doing? Listen, make sure you check the links in my description. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you check me out on Twitch. You can subscribe. You can join my Patreon. You can donate via Streamlabs. You want to get your message heard, help me fill up the bar, because we're in the age of YouTubers being financially irresponsible and getting bailed out by the audience. And I want a piece of that pie, you know what I'm saying? We're going to get onto that shortly. You can buy my music. You can stream my music. I make music. You can do that.